Hey, wrestling fans, what's happening? Thanks for tuning in again to episode number 50 here for AEZ All Elite Zone, which is great. We kind of hit a nice little milestone. So thanks for everyone for tuning in, who's watching live or is watching this, watching later on YouTube. And we're here every Tuesday night at just after 9 p.m. Eastern Standard and about 8:15 Central Time. So today we don't have the bearded warrior, over how he changed his name. Adam is not on the show tonight, unfortunately, but again joined by some other AEZ or AEZ, however you like. We've got the American and the Canadian representation here tonight. So Jason, it's been a while, and welcome to the show.
Thank you. As you can see, I am not the bearded bruv, as he is bowling is when I hear. So I will do my best to fill in for him and talk to him on Thursday night as well.
Oh, perfect. It's nice to have you there. And Michael, I know we haven't actually met before, so welcome to the show.
Thanks. Good to be here.
Great. And where are you located, by the way?
Ohio.
Whereabouts?
Northeastern Ohio, kind of by Cleveland.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, very cool. And Jason, where are you just now?
I am in Virginia.
Nice.
Close to Richmond.
Oh, very cool. Very cool. And I'm just outside in suburbs of Toronto here on the Canadian side. And Amer, how you doing, sir? Nice to see you again.
I'm doing well. Good to see you all again. Hello, Michael. First time seeing you. And Jason, it's very good to have you back.
Well,
nice to meet you.
I've been on Thursdays, man. You've been hiding from me. That's all right.
Okay. I didn't realize that. Yeah, my schedule has been really, really crazy. Even tonight, my mother-in-law was coming in from the airport, and so all sorts of just something always seems to happen on Tuesdays. But
yeah, you need to come back, because a lot of times it's just Adam and I on Thursday. You can complete the grumpy old man cycle.
Okay, well, I'll do my best. Hopefully things are going to start settling down for me a bit. Actually just came back yesterday from a trip down to Atlanta for a little while. My daughter was participating in a conference, so yeah, it's I saw a lot of America over the last week or so. And I'm on the other side of Toronto in the suburbs.
Yeah, I've not been to Canada since I was a teenager, so it's been a minute.
Yeah, you should come up. Well, I mean, you see, I'm wearing a tank top tonight. It is very hot.
Oh yeah,
right now
it's muggy and not pleasant right now.
Yeah, it's probably today is probably about probably like 85 Fahrenheit, but the humidity is insane.
It feels like in here as well.
Yeah,
it feels rained and it's going to rain again, and I can't wait. Like, please rain and get this over with.
Oh, it poured rain for me today, actually.
Yeah, we got some thunderstorms here as well, but it has since ceased.
Yeah, no, it's pretty crazy. So no, it's great. So it's nice to have a representation across the eastern part of the Canada and U.S. So thanks for gentlemen for hopping on today, and thanks again for everyone who's tuned in to episode number 50 here. And as it is, we saw the title. It's the Blood and Guts Aftermath. So, which I thought it was a great. Event. Always surprised. I mean, that TK puts these pay-per-view, I think, worthy matches, on the weekly show. So, and it would Adam and I we kind of talk about. It reminds me of how Bischoff was when he was with WCW, and what he the kind of matches he would even put on just to make sure that Monday Nitro, got off to a bang. So no, it was great. I thought it was a great show. Well done, good team. So we can talk about that and get your thoughts. And Jason, I mean, I'll start with you to see what you thought, and how did you like some of these spots, and was it a good finish?
Well, I'll tell you, you brought up Bischoff with the Monday Nitro era. I heard him talk about it, and his explanation actually finally made sense. I'd never heard him talk about it until about 6 months ago, and I'm sure he had, but I just caught it. He said he got so much flack for putting Hogan and Goldberg on Nitro, and he said at the end of the day, what people needed to realize were they were a television company. They were not a wrestling company anymore, and that, pay-per-view buys didn't mean anything. Ratings is what meant something, and even though AEW is not a television company per se like WCW was, they're after that big TV deal, to get the pay-per-view streaming such as WWF does, WWE does. and get that other second platform out there where they can be seen across the globe the way the WWE is taking their product now. So, after I heard Bischoff's explanation, I'm like, yeah, that makes sense. And that's like I said, that's where AEW is right now, looking for that. And they said the TV deal element, and it's about to be announced. So, hopefully that'll be good. And I'm looking forward to possibly the pay-per-views coming to Max instead of having to pay $50 every month, because going to Max, they from what I've heard, they're going to be going once a month like WCW and WWE does for their pay-per-view model. So we'll see. As far as Blood and Guts went, I'm if you listen to Thursday nights, there's a lot I'll take, but I'm also hypercritical because of the stuff that I grew up on. I'm not much on Spot Fest, but they have their place in today. I understand the ADD world that we live in, and people wanting, they're not going to last that 60-minute Flair Steamboat match anymore, like what I grew up watching. So as far as the match went, I thought it was interesting the way they waited for Adam Page to come out and attack Swerve, tie him up, and then be threatened by the Young Bucks to be fired if he didn't get in the ring. I thought the finish could have been better for all the spots that were there. I mean, there's different ways to give Darby Allin a shot at Jack Perry than ending the match that's full of those spot fest and full of thumbtacks and full of tables and every other weapon you can imagine than just being him tied up, getting ready to be set on fire. Kind of reminded me of the match, the War Games years ago with the NWO versus the Horsemen when Kurt Hennig turned and they had Flair tied up in the cage or getting ready to shut the door on his head and said, surrender now or old Nate gets it. And Mongo quit and said, all right, leave him alone. And they minded up before shutting the door on his head anyway to give Flair a couple months off to go get his plastic surgery. But that's what it reminded me of. I mean, it wasn't bad. I've seen better. I've seen worse. So that's kind of where I was at with it.
Nice. Michael, what are your thoughts if you had a chance to watch it?
Oh, yeah. Do you have a list of the matches, anybody? Because I forgot. I just remember the main event.
Yeah, well, this is so. I mean, we'll talk about the big one first, and then we can kind of touch on, some of the other matches. So, as opposed to running down, we don't really do like the rundown of every single match. Just kind of like what makes sense, some good spots. But I do
main
have.
Event.
Let's see here.
I can read it to you here. There was the MJF segment in the beginning with Ospreay. The matches, though, there was Chris Jericho against Minoru Suzuki, and yeah, we'll talk about that, I'm sure. There was Britt Baker and Hikaru Shida, which was important. Then there were a couple of completely unimportant matches. Pac against Boulder. There was Mariah May against some random lady, and that was for the whole Tony Storm thing. And then there was a Blood and Guts.
Yes. Yeah, the main event, it was pretty it's the word I'm looking for. It was awesome. it was great. I do like how they ended it, like Darby dousing Jack Perry in gasoline and everything, because it was just like he did it once and it's like, I'm gonna do it again. So the Young Bucks, just gave up. He called it quits because he's like, I know he'll do it. Darby's crazy. What belts is Darby able to act like? Is it the heavyweight he's allowed to that he won a chance for? Because I know you said he has 2 belts coming up.
Yeah, so we'll touch on, but this one. So this one, I guess, because it's with Jack Perry, so he's going to get a shot at the TNT title because that is a direct link with Jack Perry. And then we'll get into the battle royal, but I think that one's for is it for the international championship or is it actually for? Okay, so yeah, we'll touch on the battle royal after, but yeah. So what did you? How did you feel? About the continuation of the Swerve and Hangman. They haven't let it die out yet. Now
I was hoping that would have been honestly the main event for All In. That's what I wanted to kind of see. I mean, but is Hangman ever going to really beat him? You know what I mean? I don't know. I feel like Swerve would just beat him anyways. How many times does Swerve have to keep beating the guy? I mean, I thought the feud should have been over, but it's not. When will it really end? Do they have to finish it in a cage match to end this? At what point do they end it? I mean, they fought a lot. It seems like Swerve kind of beat him down, but I know that Swerve went into his kid's room and he's never going to let that go or whatever until he wins. But I don't know. Is it just me or is it kind of getting old?
Uh, yeah, I mean, like you said, so we've already seen a glimpse of them in a cage, right, from this. So we've seen and experienced that. We've seen. I don't really know where to go from here. Like you said, if Swerve has won a couple of times, is he going to drop the title, or is Swerve going to lose the title and then they'll finish off their feud when there's not a belt on the line, or do we even see the possibility of Page getting the title again, right, based on this new character? I know it's. I'm not really sure. I'm a little confused. I mean, I love it.
Right.
But right. So, but Amira, I'll get your thoughts on this. I'll let you jump in.
This type of match is not really my thing. I guess maybe it's just the stage I'm at in my wrestling fandom. I mean, I'm even looking back now at kind of the original, over the top ridiculous spot of, Mick Foley at Hell in the Cell 25 years ago, and thinking to myself, Mick, did you really have to do that? Look at the course you kind of set us on for the next 25 years. Not blaming him or anything like that, but it's like, geez, where does it end? The match was what it was supposed to be. It was a spot fest. You knew what you were going to get. I am also confused about where things are going, and the more I think about it, the more I did think about it. I said to myself, it really isn't going anywhere specific. It really just kind of is, okay, what are we going to do today? Booking. I think that's pretty evident, right? And it certainly is to me. To have this kind of match where, you have the Young Bucks as tag champions and, the Elite with other championships, not defending their titles. They almost never do. It's just one of those, let's pile, if we, this guy's awesome and that guy's awesome and you can do cool moves and you can do cool moves. And the more we have, the more of a spectacle it's going to be. That to me is really the thinking here. I was disappointed that Swerve and Page, that story, like Swerve and Page obviously got physical with one another, but they were almost kind of like an afterthought with this. I left thinking, you guys did all this just to set up a match between Darby and Jack Perry. And then a few days later, you have a Royal Rampage. I smell lawsuit, but that's a whole other story. And now Darby gets a world title shot. Okay, so this week it's like the Young Bucks are basically sitting with Tony and saying, hey, let's push Darby because, we can have some really fun matches with him. And Tony's like, okay, that'll be really cool. That's kind of how I see it.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, I think it did its job. I think it was really entertaining. I'm not sure. Has this ever been on a pay-per-view, or have they always done Blood and Guts as part of a Dynamite show?
For what I remember, it's always been on TV.
Blood and Guts has always been on TV.
Yeah.
Okay. But these types of matches happen all the time on pay-per-views, right? I mean, different name, right? But it's like 5 guys here, 5 guys there, and what, where are the cameras? What are you supposed to pay attention to?
Yeah, Stadium Stampede is normally the one they put on pay-per-view.
Yeah, it's just like, I don't know. It doesn't translate very well to TV or to pay-per-view myself. It's hard to pay attention to anything because you have to try to pay attention to everything.
I was actually kind of surprised, and maybe you guys know the answer, that no one copyrighted the whole War Games, double ring with the cage and the same, guys. Because again, that's the same. I mean, I know that came from WCW. Then WWE bought it or started doing it, especially in NXT, and then AEW was able to do it. So I guess, do you guys know? Because usually they'll copyright that type of match or that concept, so another promotion can't necessarily do it or do it televised. So I don't know. Do you guys know if there's any different, or did they try and?
I do remember Bruce Prichard saying that when he was in the Houston territory, they did have like 2 ring matches. I doubt they did it with a cage or with a cell because the expense of that. But I don't know. I think that might be a difficult thing to copyright, but I'm not a lawyer, so I don't know.
Yeah, the name War Games was copyrighted. They own the
Yes.
trademark for that. But
Yeah.
as far as I mean, really, that would put wrestling company after wrestling company in lawsuits 24/7 if they really wanted to try to go that route.
Yeah.
Between the Battle Royal, it's got 400 different names from 400 different places over the years. Whether it be the Royal Rumble or whatever you want to do, but we were talking about, you guys were talking about Swerve. I'll tell you, I think where I see this one going, because Danielson has come out and publicly stated he did not want a world title. He didn't think he deserved that at this point in his career. I think we're going to be swerved per se, and Hangman will cost Swerve the title at Wembley, put it on Danielson for a little bit, and let them finish out their feud with no title involved. And you'll have the Danielson going, well, I'm glad I'm world champion, but I didn't want to win it this way. I wanted to earn it, and I don't feel like I earned it, because he plays that role very well.
Yeah, you know what? Yeah, could that be set in your case scenario, like taking your what you just mentioned there, Jason? Would that set up a potential Danielson to finish with MJF?
It's possible, depending on what they do with him and Will Ospreay, depending on where this goes.
Yeah.
Right. That'll be a good one. So, and a segue, I know we kind of just mentioned a few times, obviously, with the double ring, and then the Rampage Royal Rumble, or whatever they
Royal Rampage.
Royal Rampage. And I was actually looking forward to. Sometimes I like these matches to see and get a guy that you're not maybe necessarily expecting. This is a chance to throw them into a title type of match or scenario or storyline. And again, I was really hoping that it wasn't going to be Darby Allin. I would have been totally fine. I would have loved it to see if it was like Brody King again, for example, right? Or even a like Kyle O'Reilly, getting that opportunity. So I don't know what your guys' thoughts were after watching this. Maybe Jason, just I'll start with you there. What you thought of that, and are we getting a little too much Darby Allin? Are we going to get sick of him to keep on doing this? And it should have been maybe someone else that got that opportunity.
I think you had the thing with Darby Allin getting the 2 title shots, as AEW is notorious for. One of the things that I knock them for all the time, you will go that the roster is so big, and you'll go and they just keep shoving somebody down your throat on all 3 shows. And you're going, okay, where's this person? Where's that person? Where's this person? Okay, I know this person's hurt, but this one's not. Why aren't they on TV? And I hopefully they will get, like I said, I don't give Tony too much flack on it, because I know he's still brand new at this. He's 5 years in. Everybody else that's doing it has been doing it for a long time, and God bless him for doing it. It was his dream. Is he going to make mistakes? Yes, he's shown that. Is he going to make more? Yeah, probably. Are we going to keep watching? Yeah, we are. And like I said, I've said for Amber and I agree on the everybody just likes to post online. They just like to troll to try to get some attention, or they're bored, or whatever the case is. And if I comment at all, it's always the same thing. I watch what I like, and I fast forward through what I don't. And that's any company that's out there. It doesn't matter which one I'm watching. I try to watch it all as much as I can. And when stuff comes up I don't like, I just hit fast forward and keep going. If you liked it, that's great. Personal opinion. It's just like a movie. It's entertainment. You might like one movie and somebody else doesn't. So, like I said, I think that's what, one thing that I wished he would get better at is utilizing the entire roster, or the majority of the roster, between the 3 shows, instead of constantly, the flavor of the month, if you will, and cramming them down the audience's throat.
Yep. No, good points. And I agree with you there, Jason, for sure. Michael, what are your thoughts on, are we getting a bit overkill? Is it a bit too much? Are we getting sick of it yet, or no?
Yeah, they're really making them strong. And like Jason was saying about the, shoving somebody down their throats, I felt like they were doing that with Hook a couple months ago, They made him look unstoppable, throwing around Samoa Joe and everything. But right now with Darby, I do think they're kind of making... I was rooting for Claudio in that Battle Royal. I want him to get a push. I think he's awesome. He's like one of my favorite wrestlers. He's so talented too. And it just doesn't seem like he's getting one. Darby's super young too. But, I guess I really like Darby too. He does stuff that nobody else does. He could take a beating. He is like the Mankind of the new generation, it feels like.
Mm-hmm.
But
Agreed.
That's fair.
you know, I mean, I think he's going to win that title off of Jack Perry if they're pumping him up to be this strong. If not, it's going to be a long feud, and he will end up beating him sooner or later. He has to. I mean, I don't know. The way they're pumping him, something's up, you know? Unless
No,
they really want to make Jack Perry look strong by beating him, how unstoppable he looks right now, you know? I don't know.
Mhm. Yeah, I guess Amer, what do you think? Are we getting a bit too much Darby? And do you think that they're going to, strip the title off of Jack Perry this soon to give it to Darby?
They could, but my gut tells me probably not. What I'm seeing here is I think that Darby likes to be.
Underdog.
I don't quite know how to say it. He likes to be the guy who takes a beating and then comes back and takes another one or whatever,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
So, if he, he'll have the match with Jack Perry, the Elite will, he'll get a moral victory, and the Elite will take him out, whatever, and save Jack Perry's title, that sort of thing. And because I think Darby just wants to go out there and do his crazy stuff. That's what he wants. You mentioned Claudio. It's interesting about Claudio. The trend that I have seen for the 3 or 4 years that I've been watching AEW, big guys are never going to get over in AEW. Claudio has no hope. He's not vocal enough, and the bottom line is this: whatever you feel about Tony, put all of your things aside. The problem I've always had with AEW tribalist fans, I know you guys are not tribalists, but so many people are like, no, Tony's different. He's special. He's one of us. No, he's not. He's like everybody else. He's a fan. He likes what he likes. And he's going to push forward guys like the Bucks, who are his friends. He's going to push forward guys like Darby Allin, in which he sees, the underdog that he is. He's going to push forward guys like Orange Cassidy, the smaller guys, right? Who can beat the big guys because, of course, they can, right? Because that's how Tony is. I don't blame him for that. Just like Vince McMahon pushed guys that he saw himself in. Just like every promoter pushes guys that they see themselves in. They're human. And Tony's no different. So that's why Wardlow is never going to get anywhere in this company. That's why Brian Cage isn't going to get anywhere in this company. Claudio, all of these big guys. Will Hobbs, they're not. Tony does not see himself in those guys. He sees himself in this bunch of guys. And that is what's happened, and that is what will continue to happen.
Well, I'll ask you this, to ask you your opinion on this, because you go back to the tribalist about how all of this person will be so much better in AEW. That person, I'm so glad this person signed. And I don't know if it's worse, but Claudio and Buddy Matthews have not been used any better in AEW than they ever were in the WWE. Not saying they were used great there, but because they weren't. But and that's two talented guys, but they haven't been used any better on Warner Brothers television than they were on the other channel.
And I actually mentioned this because I was in a feed with Ron. I said, who's been better off creatively in AEW? There's only two people you can point to: Swerve and Tony Storm. Okay. And I made the argument, and I'll stand by this, and I think you guys will probably agree. That's not because of anything that Tony Khan has done. They have reinvented themselves. And if Tony is to get credit for anything, he's given them a platform on which they can thrive because they have that innate talent. So, props for that. That's great. But that's where we are. A lot of guys jumped because they're like, well, maybe the grass is greener, or WWE doesn't want me. I want something different. Okay. Hope you're happy. And Buddy Matthews apparently, is walking home with a big paycheck so that he can, match hopefully what Rhea's making. So, and that's fine. More power to them,
I mean, I would say at least those two guys were put into some pretty big factions, at least in AEW. Like being part of the BCC, that's pretty good. I mean, look at the company he's like Claudio's keeping, right? And that was a big step to be part. At least they put him in a great group. He was Ring of Honor champion. I know he was Ring of Honor champion, and it's not AEW or WWE. And at least I like that they've at least utilized Buddy Matthews for a longer period of time and kept him with something. And Lacey's part of I think, a great faction that has a lot of promise. And I always think it's going to go somewhere, the House of Black. I'm always wanting more. I think it's going to go maybe like another direction, but it always kind of stays here. But at least, I know what you guys are saying. I think it's to do with their mouthpiece. Like you mentioned about why one of the reasons potentially you're not going to see Claudio be the champion, because he's not as sharp and witty and on the ball when it comes on the mic, right? Again, not when you got the MJFs that are in there and will go toe to toe with anybody and destroy anybody on the mic,
and are hungry.
Right? And I'll play devil's advocate. We talk about that, and people are like, "Oh, MJF should have went to the WWE." No, he shouldn't. He's much better off where he's at. From what I read, and you can only believe so much of what you read, but part of his demand was he wanted to be, one of the top 3 paid guys in WWE, and they're just main event heavy right now. That's not happening with all the people they have there that's been in there as long. And he's not going to have that creative freedom that makes him MJF in the WWE that he has in AEW. So, it's not just a one side for me. I'll sit there and go person by person on where I think they would be better off at. So,
Michael, any thoughts on this one?
No, I'm in complete agreement, pretty much.
Yeah, Jason, to your point, I think if MJF was in WWE, he'd be on the mid card. I just don't see him being pushed up to the top necessarily. There's a good level of mid card guys. I can see him. Yes, I could see him thrown into a feud. It makes sense with a Cody. That would make sense, but I don't see him if they were going to put it in the storyline, with against the Bloodline, for example. Like, I just don't see that, right? Where he would make sense in I see him. He's more of a put him against. I could see him with Seth Rollins. There is definitely a group. You've got the AJ Styles, the Seth Rollins that he could work really well with and put on some amazing matches. But I agree. I think he is who he is because he's in AEW and he was able to do and flourish, and they let him be who he was. I don't think if he started his journey to this extent in WWE, he wouldn't be the same character. There would have been a lot more limitations on him, and they wouldn't have given him as many opportunities. I don't think that is what AEW has, and I really think that AEW is the reason he is who he is today. With that, so I just wanted, to touch on, with that same night. I don't think we've seen. I'll bring up the Chop Fest, right? It was Minoru versus Jericho, and this was an interesting one. I know they always like to bring in the old guys, from New Japan. I get they're entertaining, but are they taking away from the main roster guys? But this one, at least they made it interesting in the fact that I can't remember ever seeing a match like this that literally I think was just chops for, I don't know, like 15 minutes. That was insane. The fact you see there's actually blood dripping down Jericho's chest. Did we like this? I know that Jericho's been getting a lot of flack and a lot of people saying, okay, it's time. Do we really like the gimmick? I'm getting into it a little more. I wasn't really buying it at first, the whole learning tree thing, but I don't mind it. But again, a match like this with these two guys, just to do something different. Did we like the match? Jason, what do you think? Could you handle watching a 15-minute just a chop match? Or what do you think? Did you find it entertaining?
I like Suzuki for the simple fact that even though at his age, he's really, I know Okada's out there doing bitches and, that gets a little bit of a pop, but that's really all he's done. And, Suzuki, he can't go like he once did, but he shows personality, which is something that the rest of the Japanese stars that he's brought over and tried to, get over on American television is lacking. Suzuki has got a lot of personality in the ring, despite what his limitations might be in the ring now. I'm not a fan of the learning tree gimmick. Credit to Jericho, who continues to reinvent himself over and over and over again. He has for years. Whether you like it or not, people are talking about it. I was done with it after about the first 3 minutes of it, but when it went on a little too long, you could have done the same thing and had the same result and not had it go as long as it did. especially with the main event you had coming out that night and other stories you were trying to tell. But it's Jericho, and I'm like Amara said, Tony is a fan, and he loves Jericho. He's gonna let him do what he wants to do. So you
right.
take it or leave it.
That's true. Michael, what are your thoughts? I mean, on that match, if you watch the 15 minutes of chops, and do we like the direction and the continuing the learning tree and the development of the learning tree character versus Jericho's past characters?
I'm a big fan of Jericho. I think the learning tree is hilarious. It wasn't at first, but it really grew on me, and I think it's hilarious. But Minoru Suzuki is so awesome. He's one of my favorite New Japan guys, but he's just, I don't know how old he is, but he can't like do
58.
much. How old?
He's 58.
58.
Was
Yep.
he?
Oh, wow.
He's very, very close to his 58th birthday if he's not 58 yet. Because I remember looking this up and commenting on social media that these two guys have a combined age of 110.
Oh, wow.
That's insane.
But it just seems like it's painful to watch him walk sometimes. It's like, he just can't do the crazy stuff he used to. I think he's reduced to just chopping, to be honest.
That's it.
And I'm saying it respectfully because he's a legend. He's awesome. But, I mean, I think that's all he can kind of do. I don't know.
Yeah,
That's it.
I mean, yes, and I think a match like that kind of reminds me more of like a sideshow. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it's the I feel like this is giving us is like this is the midget wrestling match.
Yeah,
of the
I know,
80s.
yeah.
Thrown in, have a bit of fun, get the crowd into it, doing something a little bit different. I don't know, Amer, how do you? What are your thoughts on this?
Well, speaking of kind of the way Tony thinks, Tony's bringing in these Japanese guys who he watched 15, 20 years ago when they were great. And it's like, almost like, what happened in the beginning when WWE went to Saudi Arabia. Hey, can you bring over Yokozuna and Andre the Giant? And they're like, well, they're kind of dead. But, it's that kind of thinking. So again, it's like, okay, let me do this because this will be fun for me and it'll bring back memories of my childhood, and why not? And I agree that Suzuki is entertaining, and the match was what it was. And I think Matt, I think what you said was right on. It's almost like a sideshow match. It's like a comedy match, a palate cleansing match, even though I don't think that's what they were going for. As far as the learning tree gimmick is concerned, the problem with the learning tree gimmick, and I haven't heard anybody say this, at least I haven't seen it, but I thought about it and I said, I get what Jericho's trying to do. It's fun. It is entertaining. It's grown on me a little bit. It's unique. It's different. I'm not going to complain about it. The problem is with a gimmick like that, and if you think back, all of the ways that Jericho has reinvented himself, they worked because he had somebody to play off of. Remember when he was doing the list? He would always have a Kevin Owens to play off of, or somebody, right? Back in WCW, he had Goldberg, or the guys who are higher up on the card to play off of. Early days in WWE, he had Jericho and The Rock and all of these other guys to play off of. And with this gimmick, I think it's like, hey, Tony, let me go out and do this. I can make it work. Sure, Chris, of course you can. But he's got nobody to play off of, right? And that's the thing, and that's the problem. I see that the gimmick is not going anywhere because who's the antagonist? Is it Minoru Suzuki? Well, it is this week, right? Is it going to be some guy from CMLL so that he can have another dream match and kind of check that off the box and say, hey, everybody, look, I'm trying to elevate talent, and then you'll never see that talent again? That's the problem. It's not the learning tree gimmick in and of itself. It's just that, like everything else in AEW, there's no overarching vision of saying we've got this thing that can be good, but where's the vision to make it into something, really good?
What happened with Hook and Samoa Joe? Where are they? Because isn't that why the learning tree kind of became a thing?
Hook is hurt, and Samoa Joe did an injury angle to go film his television show.
Yeah, and Hook is probably sitting in New York waiting for his contract to run out so he can drive up to Connecticut and talk to Triple H. That's my guess.
But I mean, I'm not even a huge fan. Like, I could really care less. I'll take or leave Hook.
Right.
I think he's someone who's been really pushed. I think he has a lot of work to do. I'm kind of over his character, that face kind of down. It's annoying.
Me too.
So, I mean, I think, Michael, you mentioned that earlier on, right, about getting Hook being kind of like jammed through our throats.
Yeah.
You know, I don't think if he went to WWE or went to NXT, which you hear a lot of like people saying, "Oh, he'd be great there." I think he'd be exposed.
He would have to sink or swim. I agree. I'm thinking the same thing. He would sink or swim.
Like, you know, it kind of works. And Nick, hey, I know he's got some great teachers behind him, including his dad, and being in the company. So, but yeah, maybe it's a chance just to have Jericho do some other stuff, because again, the FTW championship obviously is tied to Taz and now Hook, right? So I think you have to remove him, but I think it's going to set that up that Hook will be back. And is that a match we're going to see at All In, where Jericho actually loses the belt, to Hook, and then Hook has the belt back after that? So I don't know if that's even a possibility, but
right.
Now, I'll piggyback off what you said with Hook being exposed if he went down there, and I'll give you an example. The first time I saw Jade Cargill on AEW TV, nothing against AEW, but I said, that girl's got it WWE written all over her, just with her look. She looks like a star.
Yes.
But as much training as they have given her since she's signed, she's been exposed in the ring. She's not picking up on it. So for all the people that said, "Oh, AEW didn't do this, AEW didn't do that with her," maybe they didn't. I don't know what's going on behind the scenes, who's training who and who's not. But she's been in the NXT for, well, not in NXT, but the Performance Center for since last November, however long it's been. Because they might have been October. They held her off to the Royal Rumble, where she didn't really have to do a whole lot. And it's been reported they're not happy with her with her progress. I mean, but Hook, and I go back to Hook because Jade's got that on him where she looks like somebody, and Hook just doesn't. Hook looks like a teenager you'll run into at the mall if you go out, or at the beach or something. And
which is why Tony likes him, I think.
Well, I mean, sink or swim's kind of where it's at. You're either going to learn, or like I compare him. I say that about Jade because he doesn't have that look she's got to push him further, the way she can go out there and look like a superhero like Storm. And so he's not, even though he's Taz's son, he's not going to get the same breaks that they gave her, because you're gonna have to come out there and prove something. And I'm just not sure he can do it right now.
Well, I'll put the question there to maybe you, Jason. Can you kind of brought it up? So then, why is Jade so exposed now when she had a long run in AEW? She was not exposed to this degree. So is it more like they did a better job with her in AEW, playing to her strengths, where WWE seems to be exposing her weaknesses? So, because there's a big difference, right? Because no one was complaining about her progress necessarily to this extent when she was in AEW. People understood she was new, but the way they pushed her. So why is she so exposed now? I mean, that's, I don't know if you got some.
I will tell you, I mean, when she started in AEW, and they've come a long way, the women's roster, when she started there, it was not what it is now. And the WWE's women's roster, I mean, you could damn near put it up against the men. They have so many talented females that can work, that can tell a story. Between your Becky Lynch, Charlotte, Rhea, Tiffany Stratton's come on, and she just reminds me so much of a young Charlotte Flair. And Liv, I've never been a big fan of Liv Morgan, but she's doing very well right now. And so when Jade first started, she was doing a lot of squash matches. I think the longest matches she had was the 2 losses to Chris Statlander. I mean, don't quote me on that. You have to go back and look, but it wasn't that she was not surrounded by the talent. So she wasn't so much being exposed, is because, she wasn't that far off from who she was in the ring with, in my opinion. And now when she's in there with a Bianca Belair who can wrestle circles around her, it just shows.
Yeah. What do you think, Michael?
I have a question for you guys. Do you think that's why they put Jade with Bianca Belair, to make her look good?
They got to protect her.
Yeah.
She's not nowhere near. She could go out there and have power match with Nia. I mean,
Right.
because we don't expect much from Nia, but I mean, you put her in the ring with a Bayley or a Bianca Belair, Charlotte Flair, hell, even Tiffany Stratton 1-on-1. It's not going to look good. She's going to look worse than what she's looked already.
Hamer, what do you think?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I don't know. I don't know that she's been as exposed, Jason. Maybe as you think. Like I kind of don't see that. I think WWE is trying to be judicious in the way that they use her. Your assessment of it is not wrong. They really have to pick their spots with her, and that is exactly, to Michael's point, why they put her with Bianca. I remember in the Royal Rumble, she came out. She needed some help, like right at the end, but she had Bayley there. She had Liv there. They could kind of help her out a little bit. It's a work in progress, and the way I think about it, we were talking about MJF a little bit earlier, and how that MJF might struggle in WWE. I don't know, whatever. I have my own feelings about that, but I was thinking about MJF and Jade more in the bigger picture. It's not just WWE anymore. It's Endeavor, right? It's the whole entertainment thing. And we're talking about, movies and, Hollywood and all of that kind of stuff. There is so much more out there. And so many wrestling fans just think about it. Oh, gosh, if so-and-so went to WWE, what a waste that would be. It's not just WWE. It's Endeavor, right? There's more to it than that. And with Jade, she can fit in a lot of different places, I think, in the Endeavor machine. And I think that there still is time. She's not you can argue to what extent she's been exposed. She's not embarrassing herself.
No, not at all. Not at all. I agree.
Embarrassing anybody else. So they have time with her, And again, she's got the presence that, her going out there has an impact. So I think they have time.
And to your point, as you'll hear everybody in the world talk about how bad they hate the Miz and can't believe he's been there almost 20 years.
Yeah.
Well,
I can't stand when people do that.
Well, it's like, what are you not watching? He's, I mean, he's not a Danielson in the ring per se, but he's good in the ring. He can carry a match. He can make people look like $1 million, and he's entertaining as hell.
That's
How
right.
could you not keep that guy around for 20 years?
Have you ever heard of Kurt Hennig? You ever heard of Owen Hart? Scott
I
Hall?
am not a nugget.
That's right. Guys who had really long careers, some of them cut short for all sorts of reasons, but guys who were there could make other people look like $1 million and are the MVPs. Guys like Shinsuke Nakamura, people are like, at the beginning of the year, he was the MVP. He was there every week. He was losing every week, but he was making Cody look like $1 million or Seth Rollins look like $1 million. Those guys are worth their weight in gold.
Y'all brought up Cody a couple of times. I meant to make the point earlier, but you ask if Darby is going to win the title. And if they watch what works, Jack hadn't had the title long enough to take him off of it yet, but Dusty and anybody that was around for a while, they know that the money's in the chase.
Yes.
If you still need proof of that, people went from booing Roman Reigns and flipping him off to 2-3 weeks after Cody won the belt to the small chance of we want Roman to an arena chanting we want Roman. So the chase is what people like to watch. You finally give the people what they want. Put the belt on the baby face for a couple of months and then rinse and repeat.
Yeah, and then it becomes that lunch bag letdown, right? And then you always want what you don't have. So yeah, I 100% agree with you there. So it's going to be interesting. So I guess going on with kind of like the workhorses, Amer, to your point, like we're seeing, that we've got an AEW is great at this of representing the young guys, but also giving the time to the older vets. And I found as of late, and by the sound of the crowd, it feels like there's a good crowd that's behind Jeff Jarrett right now. It feels like he's got a little bit of his last run, a little bit of a babyface run. I think what got him over, and AEW is great at their vignettes. That's one of my favorite things to do is when they can do a vignette, a whole kind of little video on somebody, kind of take him out of character, humanize them a little bit. They're really great at that, and they did a great job of that, of humanizing him. when it came to the Owen Hart tournament and what that meant for him, and that kind of connection, and had those kind of interrupting and giving a spiel to actually come out with some heartfelt messaging. In this past week, he did it with Danielson, saying, "Hey, you know what? I wanted to win the tournament, but again, if anyone's going to win it, it's you, and you're the best guy, and you're potentially the best wrestler in the world, right?" So you've got two guys that are kind of on their last journeys there. But what do you think about this last run, and with a Jarrett? And are you sensing that the fans are getting behind him and just kind of want to see one last run for Jarrett? And saying that too, and I'll kind of add on that, we saw Hangman come in and attack Jarrett. So is this potentially leading up to, because I know we're talking about Hangman and Swerve, but if Swerve has to do his thing, say with Daniel Bryan for the All In, could we see a Jeff Jarrett and Adam Page also for All In? So just curious to see what your thoughts are on this kind of last, given the last hurrah to Jarrett. Jason, if you want to check this first.
This is where I get critical of things. I completely agree with you that the backstage stuff with Jeff Jarrett and the Owen Hart, I mean, you turned one of the biggest chicken shit heels of all time into a white meat sympathetic babyface. And then in the end, it was for nothing. And the reason I say that is there was no reason to put him in that tournament and do that with him. I'm not saying he should have won the tournament and got the title shot, but if you were going to do that, and then if you were going to let Adam Page beat him, then Adam Page needed to go to that title shot. But to put him in and let him lose the very first match when you had all that talk, and it's like the whole Cody Rock Roman thing where they had to pivot for what they had planned for WrestleMania because of the fans, that those vignettes, and they were powerful. I mean, I met Jeff Jarrett in the 1990s. I hung out with him for 3 days in a row. I'm sure he wouldn't remember who the hell I am now, but great guy. He was so nice. This is when he was doing the "Don't Piss Me Off" gimmick in the WWE in the late 90s. But such a nice guy. It's when his first wife was battling cancer. I mean, you're not going to find a nicer guy than Jeff Jarrett. And does he deserve to be world champion at this stage of his career? Absolutely not. But for them to get that much swell around a guy, I mean, because him and Karen together, I mean, she just added to that chicken shit heel persona. She does a great job with that. You love to hate that woman, whether you like her on TV or not. She gets a reaction, but like I said, I was excited for him. I really, when they did the vignette and it got so much swell, I'm like, okay, maybe I don't know what they had planned for him, but maybe they'll pivot and at least send him to the finals. Mm-hmm. And then he just got the shit beat out of him in the first match, and it's just like it's a popcorn fart. It's like you did it for nothing. And I mean, or if we put him against Hangman Page at Wembley, we're pushing Page towards Swerve. You can't let him lose to Jarrett there if you're going to push him to your world champion. Whether Swerve keeps the belt or not, he's still your top guy. So I just think it was all. I think it was wonderfully done at first, and then they dropped the ball with it.
Yeah, no, I'll agree with you with that. I thought they should have let him at least win that first round, the show, right? The whole point of these things sometimes is you want a bit of that unknown, like, oh my gosh, could it possibly happen, right? They keep your intention. And then when they just kind of spoil it, and you're like, okay, well, here we go. We're just back to the same old. They're just going to push whatever they want to push. And what was the point? And I agree with you on that. But Michael, I'll pass it over to you just to get your thoughts on Jarrett, his last run, and what do you see possibly them doing with him?
I feel like it's something that's never going to happen. It's just, all right. Like when Ric Flair came back for Sting, and for weeks and like months, they were putting his face, like the Ric Flair energy drink or the thing. Because I went to see a show live in Erie, PA, Pennsylvania, over by where I live. And they have the AEW entrance for all the wrestlers, and they even had the side screens that had Ric Flair on them and everything. And then they never really did. He never showed up or did anything except like the last match. I think Sting was in or whatever, and he hit somebody in the balls or whatever he did. It's kind of like I feel like they dropped the ball on him, even though that wasn't his final match. You know what I mean? They pump you up with somebody for nothing. Mm-hmm. And I just feel like they're pumping up Jeff Jarrett right now. And it was just like, for what though? Like, where do they go with it? What's he going to do? I don't see him feuding with Hangman. I mean,
Nope.
that's not a fair match or whatever. You know, they're not on the same level. I mean, I don't know.
I
don't
no,
know.
I agree, and AEW's is great for that these days. Of like all of a sudden we're getting some Lance Archer. Are we?
Yeah.
How long? Because they bring it back, you get all excited because I like Lance Archer, and he's
Oh,
a
yeah, he's
monster.
a beast.
And then
Yeah.
he disappears again. So I don't know if he goes back to Japan or what he does, but
I think he
again, to
does.
your point, right? You get excited, go, okay, looks like, oh, is he back? All right, are they going to work with him? They're going to add him in, and then gone, right? That's that flavor of the month again. You know, I don't know if it was Jason or Amer that you mentioned that the flavor of the month, but Amer, I'll pass it over to you.
Yeah, it's what kind of what I said before. It's just a lack of vision. It's like, oh, who's here? Oh, you're here this week. Oh, let's do this. This will be cool. And that's really what it is. And it's not even start and stop booking. It's almost like ADHD booking. You know,
Yes.
it's like it's literally what's in front of me right now. And I may not be exaggerating that some of the booking is like based on the last person that Tony talked to. Like would anybody be surprised if that were the case? You shouldn't. No. You know. And Jarrett, you know, if you listen to his podcast, I used to, I don't so much anymore, because the combination of Conrad and somebody who works for AEW is a little tough to handle these days. But, you know, Jeff says, I'm a delusional optimist. He was born into the business, and I'm sure that, you know, his motives and his intention in coming to Dynamite and Rampage and Collision every week are, let me just see if there's some good I can do for somebody or for the show or for the company or whatever, because that's what's in his blood, right? And I agree with you. The vignettes were great. I was almost disappointed to see that vignette because I'm like, I know that they're going to do nothing with this. Like when I was watching it, I was just like, he's not winning this tournament, right? Because they already had they not booked themselves into a corner and announced that it was for a title match, if it was just for a trophy, well, then there's all sorts of things you could have done, right? You could have won the Owen and it would have been the most awesome moment in the world. But now they can't, right? So I'm like, great moment, but it's going nowhere. And to your point, the vignettes were so well done, and that's a tribute to Mike Mansouri, who, you know, say what you want about the guy, but he learned everything from Kevin Dunn. And, you know, Kevin Dunn, for all the guff he gets, he knew a thing or two about how to produce wrestling, right? His style, you can question it, whatever, but, you know, anyway, just thought I'd throw that out there.
Yeah, no, great points. And I go along with Jarrett. You know, we've got someone like Jarrett who's definitely on his last legs or his last run, if you will.
I agree with you there, but the thing I will say, and your classic AEW fans will disagree with me all day long, and that's fine. But what's Jarrett, 58, Hammer?
I think he's not quite there. I want to say he's about 55, maybe.
Well, somewhere around there. You
1967, so he's 57.
Yeah, close. The marquee is All Elite Wrestling. It's not All Elite Spot Fest. And that's not a shot. That's just a point. Given the right opportunity, Jeff Jarrett can probably still out wrestle 3/4 of the people that are on the roster.
I'd say being generous. I'd say more like 90%.
And I guarantee you that he can tell a better story than 99.9% of the people on the roster.
Correct.
So for my advice to anybody on the AEW roster, if you have not went and picked Jeff Jarrett's brain yet, go do it.
So, such a shame because nobody will. Anybody who had that kind of mindset is in NXT.
Yeah,
sorry, but that's the truth.
And I would also put on there, Jay Lethal. I know they're partners. He's right up there for me. In terms of
I agree.
They have
used him horribly.
Right. But it's interesting. So I just want to pivot over to, I mean, we've got another kind of aging superstar, right? That Brian Danielson's got a title shot here. He was very vocal about it, saying, "Hey, I'm actually going to be working with an expired contract." As far as the last vignette, the last interview that I saw, unless it's changed, I know they like to create that bit of a storyline too, going, "Hey, well, Bree and I talked about this. That this would be my last contract, and now it's going to be over as as of like tomorrow." But again, he's got this big opportunity. Are we going to see a few more matches out of him before the end? Because when they do these kind of things, if guys are about to retire but they give a title shot, you're kind of like, well, what's the point? Like, if you're going to retire the next day after, then we already know the outcome, right? Unless they do a big spin. I mean, again, I know they let Sting at least finish, so which I was really happy about, because again, I thought, okay, well, retirement match, you're not going to let the guy who's retiring tomorrow give him the championship. So I think maybe they're kind of either saying that, extending that to go like give you a bit of an like, oh, maybe, right? Because we do need every match. You always need a bit of that mystery. Like, is it possible? Is there a possibility that this other guy could actually win in this match? So you still want to have that type of mystery, because that's what draws in the viewership, right? And the interest. So I don't know. Where do we see? Do we see one more match? Do we see 5 more matches? Or have they talked about, hey, which is the, what would make the most sense in terms of the last pay-per-view for him to be on? So I don't know, Jason, if you've got any aspects.
Well, I mean, I guess it depends on how well his health really is. You heard him talk last week about, he had a plethora of health issues still going on. It was going to be up, going to the last minute of how he will be for Wembley. What I will say for him winning the title or not, the age-old thing in the business used to be that you went out on your back. And that is where Tony's definitely different. You talk about Sting, Tony wants to give everybody the big send-off, the heroes going away. So I can completely see Danielson winning the title and coming out Wednesday night and thanking everybody and laying the title in his boots in the ring and walking away. I mean, I can completely see that with Tony Khan. He likes to send people off on a high note. Like I said, the tradition was you go out on your back, you put the next guy over. But, between the Hangman Swerve feud and Hangman possibly interfering and costing Swerve the match, and then you could actually book a tournament and have Swerve and Hangman in the finals for the title. That way you get the match and it's still for the title as well. So there's a lot of different ways to do it. I guess it's just going to depend on how healthy Danielson really is, on what we get out of him between now and Wembley.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. You're probably totally right. Because again, it might not even be Tony's decision or his decision, right? Depending on the health, or they're playing this into the angle a little bit. Sometimes they like to blur those lines these days.
You never know.
Yeah, but
with him, it's easy to wonder because of how his health has been over the years.
100%. I totally agree. So, like, Michael, would just want to get your thoughts on what do you think of this last ride of Danielson, and could he actually have a chance to win the title, or does it not make sense at all?
Oh yeah, I really think it could. They did that with the tag team championship with Sting and Darby, and then they had the tournament. I think it would be awesome to mix it up. Just for this, if he won it and laid it down with his boots, the belt and everything, then they could have like a heavyweight title championship tournament, or like a road to the championship or something like that. That'd be interesting. And maybe have MJF and Swerve in the finals or something like that. There's so many possibilities. I don't know. I'm over the Hangman Swerve thing, kind of. I really don't want to see it anymore. I'd like to see somebody else. Yeah. There's so many big guys, though, and I don't see Claudio or Brody, like you said, the big guys. Although I'd like to, but as long as the House of Black is still around, I don't see Brody King getting pushed, unfortunately.
Yeah.
And the BCC, I don't know what's up with Moxley right now. I think he's just taking a break.
I think he is. I read somewhere he is.
Yeah, I was going to ask you. Yeah,
he was all over the place defending that belt. He was all over the place with that belt. He probably is a little overworked, need to spend some time relaxing. But I don't see Claudio getting that belt unless or a shot like getting big unless something happens with the BCC or Moxley and Danielson kind of take a break or something like that too. So
Yeah, and I was going to ask you guys too. Are we fine with giving Mox a break? Are we? I mean, personally, he's someone else I feel that AEW has really kind of jammed down our throats. Great talent. He's entertaining. I get that, but
yeah,
again, just like anything, yeah, if you too much of a good thing, kind of starts to wear people, the wrong way. Especially when you're like, oh, he's won again. He won again. Oh, surprise, surprise. So I
yes.
don't know. I mean, I don't know. Is it a good break? Is it help us kind of give a break where it's just too much Mox?
I'm glad he's gone for a while. I mean, I think he's, I think he 100% did the right thing when he first came over. It was great for the company, the big name coming over from WWE, but just my personal opinion, the whole BBC and everything he's done lately has been stale. And, the same thing over and over again. I know we see it from a lot of them, but certain things work, certain things do not. And I just think I think he needed to go away for a little while, regroup, and then come back, and maybe with a different mindset. But if you come back doing the exact same thing, people are. I mean, if you go back and watch the last few times he came out, he was getting hardly no reaction. And what's that?
Neither are most people.
Well, there's some that do and some that don't. But I mean, he's one of the bigger names that they have. And
Yes.
their big names normally get some kind of response and reaction. And he just wasn't getting any. And so I do think I hope he's taking the time off to spend time with his family and everything, because being on the road like that, and he was going overseas a lot. But it's to sit back and go, okay, I've been doing this for 5 years. What can I do when I come back to be fresh again?
Yeah, Amer, are you missing Mox right now?
Not really. I think I'm with you guys. He deserves a bit of a break. It is what it is. It is what it is. I think I'm not a huge fan of his style of wrestling. That's just my personal opinion. But obviously, the AEW fans do love him, and they'll appreciate it when he's back.
Yeah, no, I agree. I know as we kind of approach just passing the hour here, I wanted to get your guys' opinion, and of course, our American co-hosts here also might have some extra opinion on the American title, the American Championship that was, I guess, presented or revealed by MJF this past week, where he took over after winning the international championship and coming out with a brand new belt, which, I do like. It seems like he's the only guy who's been able to change the belts every time he's had it, right? He changed the championship belt to match more the bourbon or the triple B and this, and it's so MJF to making sure, and being American proud, but doing it in a way where he's still doing it because he's supposed to be a major heel, but because of where he's doing and how he's doing it, I know the whole crowd goes nuts, but he's able to bring it back and say, well, my America doesn't include you, Rednecks, I guess, from Nashville there. So I guess Jason, your thoughts? How do you like the belts and changing it, and is it so MJF?
Well, it is, and the America's title is a throwback to World Class. That was their major title for a while before they broke away from the NWA. That one and the Texas Heavyweight title was their two major singles titles they had. But I wasn't a fan of him winning that title to begin with. The title it hasn't meant nothing since they brought it in, and I was hoping with them putting it on Ospreay, and I was hoping Ospreay could have a good long run with the title and actually make it mean something. So when he did drop it, now granted he dropped it to MJF, which is not something to sneeze at, but it was a month and a half title reign, and he didn't have time to elevate that title, and now we're going to switch it to whatever the America's title. How long is it going to stay there? Because Ospreay took the international title that he threw away out of the trash can and walked backstage with it. Are we just getting the rematch to give Ospreay his win back? Because if that's the only reason we're getting it, I have no reason. I don't want to see it. I mean, we saw a great match that they did on Dynamite, and if we're simply going to try to replay that match to give Ospreay his win back and put the title back on him, it goes back to the reason I don't like the title. It just doesn't mean anything.
Michael, what are your thoughts?
I think that's exactly what they're going to do, is give him a rematch and he's going to get the title back. I don't know why. I just feel like, he got out of the trash for a reason, because he's like, oh, it means something. This belt is so special, the international title, and he's going to restore its glory or whatever. That's part of this storyline, I guess, is restoring the international title. I think that's the point of it. I don't know.
I mean, I personally thought that match was going to be an All In. I think that would have been, having the hour match, having a match like that. I know they're breaking it up because it's like that created some really good ratings for that show, and it was this 250th episode kind of anniversary. So that was the highlight of that show, where maybe they felt like, well, we don't need that type of match for an All In, right? Because it's already got its own kind of gimmick to it, kind of like a WrestleMania. But so yeah, Amer, what did you think of the title and the change and where they're possibly going with this?
I'd like to think, and I certainly hope, that MJF is creative enough to make this fun and a good story. I liked the way that he was being like that classic heel about, oh, I beat Will Ospreay and it only took me 2 minutes, and it was easy and it was a piece of cake, right? That's what a heel is supposed to do, right? He's supposed to lie about it. And as long as they can kind of continue that, I totally agree. I think we should all bet our houses that Will Ospreay is not going to lose at Wembley, right? But now there's an opportunity for MJF to say, I didn't lose. Look, I still got my U.S. belt, American belt, right? And, whatever they decide to do, with the ADHD booking, Max can continue doing his thing and say, I never lost this belt, right? Whatever. I can see a lot of ways that even if Tony and whatever creative he wants to come up with doesn't go with it, MJF can come up with his own creative and make it funny and interesting. That's what I'm hoping for out of this. I like to think that MJF understands that this is a business and wins and losses don't matter as much as the money and entertaining people. So that's what I'm hoping to see out of it.
So I think, Jason, to your point, I just kind of maybe put it back out there. Do you think when MJF changes a title because it's MJF, do you think it takes away from the title itself when he just goes and changes it? So he's not actually wearing the international title. He changes it so it's an American title. And does that take away from the actual belt that they're trying to promote?
I think what he did with the world title, you've seen that over the years in different places. Flair getting the big gold belt in Crockett, to Cena getting the spinner belt to sell a lot of toys in the WWE. It makes it his own. Again, like Amber said, MJF's entertaining. He can take it and, he's one of the few that no matter what you give him, he can spin it to it's where it's going to be entertaining. I have not liked this belt since its creation. And it seems like the more they try to do with it, the less it's just going to mean. It's kind of like the Continental belt. When's the last time Okada defended it? I mean, I thought that was
probably around the same time the Bucks defended theirs.
Yeah, well, it's supposed to be a tournament. We're going to do this every year. Okay, we'll do it and give them a trophy. They don't need all these belts that they have coming through. It's when you get to the pay-per-views and they've got the CMLL stars and the ROH belts on the pre-show, it seems like everybody's coming out with a belt that they just don't mean anything. Mm-hmm. And the more you try to change it and the more it gets hot potatoed around, the less it's going to mean.
Yeah, I agree. Michael, let's get your thoughts on that, on the title.
What 3 belts were there again in that Triple Crown? Just curious.
The New Japan Strong, the ROH, and then the Continental.
Okay.
Right.
All right, yeah, because I'm getting confused because there's so many belts almost, and I'm trying to think like, was that international belt a part of that? But it wasn't. Who had it? So before Cassidy had it, who held that belt?
I don't remember who I don't remember who he beat for it, to be honest with you.
Neither
Pac?
do I.
Did he beat Pac? Or did Pac beat him? Because Pac had it, right?
See, that's the thing about the belts. They don't even have legacies because, you know what I mean? Like, in order for a belt to mean something, it has to have a good legacy.
Mm-hmm.
Am I not right?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, if you look at the Intercontinental title, right, in WWE,
Yeah.
there is such history there because that was the only other like singles belt to the championship, the heavyweight championship belt, right? So that meant something to hold that belt, right? As I mean, everyone kind of knew that, hey, that's kind of the patch of the torch. Hey, once you win the Intercontinental, that's like the next step up for a lot of those guys to get.
Is it just me, or is that belt they're using now just plain ugly? I do not like the belt they have that Sami Zayn has right now.
No. There's only one Intercontinental belt for me.
Agreed, 100%.
Yeah. And I really hope someone eventually brings it back or makes it's a slight variation, maybe modernize it a bit, but keep the shape and the style because that belt has as much history as any belt in my eyes because of who's held it, right?
And
so
I think one of the reasons that WWE started doing the nameplates was to get out of what MJF did by changing the title and making it his own. Because I mean, look at over the years. Again with Cena, but you had the Rock had the Brahma Bull belt. Steve Austin had the Smoking Skull belt, and I might be leaving one out, but you know the nameplates keep them from having to constantly change the belt to fit somebody's personality.
No, agreed. Amer,
I said before, yeah. I mean the belt, the belt is a prop, and I know people say that obviously to kind of as kind of a disparaging thing. I don't mean to say it like that. I mean to say that the belt is a prop in terms of what it should be, which is a storytelling device, right? The belt should matter in some way as part of telling a story, even if it is just of a match. Ideally, it should be of a feud or an extended program or whatever, right? But so often, and this is kind of what we're talking about here, when you have so many belts and you can't even remember what happened, where was that belt 6 months ago or who won it before then what's happening is that the belt is not, it is a storytelling device, but it's a crutch, right? It becomes an excuse to have a match or to do this or whatever. And that's a problem. And AEW does it pretty much a lot. WWE does it sometimes too. They're certainly not immune from it. And you're kidding yourself if you're saying that's not the case. They're getting better with that now, but so often, remember WCW back in 2000? Like every week that belt was changing hands, it seemed, right? And again, I feel it's not that bad right now in AEW, but sometimes it feels like it's kind of close, right? There's no meaning to these belts. So I'm hoping that's why I'm hoping that MJF can use at least his belt and say, I'm going to try and make a story out of it. I'm going to try and make something entertaining out of it because that's possible. And like I said, creatively, I don't think Tony can do it, but MJF can do it.
Okay, you ready for this?
Yep.
I'll give you the quick rundown. The belt is just over 2 years old. It was unveiled on the June 8th, 2022 episode of Dynamite, and I had forgotten, but I do remember now that I'm reading it, as the All-Atlantic Championship. Pac won it in a four-way. He was the original champion at Forbidden Door. That included him, Malachi Black, Ishii, and whoever the hell Clark Connors is.
War Dogs.
I've heard that name.
He's awesome. He's New Japan, the tag team, the Bullet Club War Dogs.
Gotcha.
Oh gosh, okay.
And then Orange Cassidy won the All Atlantic title from Pac. So all that stuff that championship has been through in right at 2 years, we've had two name changes now from the All Atlantic to the International to now the America's title. And how many champions have we had in 2 year time?
Is that four? Are we on the fourth?
Oh no, we've had more.
It went back to Cassidy, so he held it twice, right? Wow. So is it just Pac, or did Ray Phoenix Because I can't remember. Did he have
Yeah,
that?
Ray Phoenix won it. Moxley won it because
Wow.
Ray Phoenix beat Moxley in that mess up where Moxley got hurt.
Yeah.
So that's just, everything that title's been through, it's happened in just over 2 years.
Wow.
That's crazy.
Wow, that's crazy. Well, guys, just before we wrap up, I just want to say, Jason, I know, like you said, you guys do some stuff over on the AEZ on the US side of things. Do you guys have anything going on this week that you want to mention?
I'm not sure where the bearded bro was going to be this Thursday. He was not available last week, so we did not do anything. So we took a week off last week. So we will see what's happening this week.
Yeah, I think he was because he was en route, right, to a bowling tournament, I think on Thursday. So
Yes.
I think that's why they maybe pushed it out. But I think he'll be back.
I know we have an interview set up with Barry Horowitz on August 8th.
Oh, nice.
Right, because they postponed that one because I know Adam was going to be available, so which is great. So that I know that'll be a great interview for you guys as well. But you know what? Again, I just want to say thanks. It was great to have some from fresh faces on, or guys who haven't been on in quite a while. So it was great, and appreciate guys that popping on for our 50th episode here on All Elite Zone and all these AEZ Canada on the show here. So really appreciate it. Jason, it was always a pleasure. Michael, it was nice meeting you. Thanks for joining. And again, Amer, it's always a pleasure to have you on, sir, from this side.
Can I throw Can I throw one last thing out there? I almost forgot. I put myself a note. I mentioned that I had gone down to Atlanta for my daughter's thing, and I did not plan this. Our hotel, literally next door to the Warner Brothers Discovery head office building. I kept my eyes open to see if I could spot a limo or something like that popping in. I was almost tempted because my son has the same kind of hair as Tony Khan. Like, go stand there, and I'll catch you from the back or whatever. And I was thinking of setting the internet ablaze, but it was just so funny. The whole weekend I was just thinking about that. The world is kind of a crazy place.
It is a crazy place. No, that's funny. And I'm sure probably right now, probably 90% of the kids right now, your son's age, have that hair. That's just doesn't even matter. Canada, US, Europe, it's all the same here right now. But again, thanks for gentlemen. Thanks for everyone who tuned in. And again, we always appreciate the support. Anybody who the comments have always been great over the last 50 shows. Really, really appreciate it. We're going to do it again next Tuesday. And of course, please like and subscribe and tell your family and friends to like us and check it out. We always appreciate it. And another great week of professional wrestling wrapped up. And I'm sure there's going to be lots more to talk about next week, especially as we start inching closer and closer to All In. And I think next 2 weeks, we're really going to define the card for that. So we'll see we're going to see where we're going with Swerve and Hangman. Where's that going to develop, right? So I'm sure we'll get some clarity in the next couple of weeks. But gentlemen, again, it's been a pleasure, and we'll do it again next week. And thanks for everyone tuning in.
Sounds good.
Thanks for having me. Good night.
Is Connor going to have to cut us off?
I think so.
I guess maybe we should just leave. And hopefully he'll fix it. All right. Let me cut it off. I'll talk to you later, Matt.
Okay. Take care.